to our first Mindshock multi-stream. We should be on multiple platforms now. Let me just double check. Some of the settings on some of these platforms do not work perfectly, but yeah, we should have some redundancy going now. Yes, so we should be live on Rumble, Twitch, Kick, and of course here on YouTube for the main chat. So let's see who we have here. The usual suspects. In the chat here we got Heracles Flatbob, Aaron Run Boston Bear, and we will be dissecting this incredible, absolutely incredible panel debating here. We have the one and only Robert Sungenis, geocentrist extraordinaire. I mean, does anybody think it's an Illuminati psyop that his name is Sungenis? And he's the one that came out with the documentary The Principle. Required viewing. I mean, I remember watching that when it first came out. And again, for those that don't know my history, I, Bruce McGuire, your not-so-humble host here. There were physics forums back in the early 2000s where over 200 physics professors from various universities, some of them quite prestigious, that were discussing geocentrism and considered themselves geocentrists. Now, the Flat Earth rollout, I don't remember anybody really discussing Flat Earth at the time, but geocentrism, yes. Geocentrism has never went away. And we will be dissecting this, I don't know what we even call this. You have Tim Pool. He can be really goofy sometimes. But he can be kind of funny as well, and he does have guests like Alex Jones. He's not afraid of conversations. You gotta give him that, that much credit, regardless of where you put him on the intellectual spectrum. Some people think that Beanie is just cutting off circulation to the brain, and he's just not as intelligent as he could be, but we will see what's going on here. We will see what kind of positions he takes or doesn't take, as he has this hodgepodge of guests here. The one and only Austin Witsit, the Michael Jordan of debate. We will see what he unleashes on, I don't even know how Sungenis is going to argue here. He looks like he's quite mad in this photo, so I don't know if he gets angry and triggered here. Then you have the one and only Alex Stein, primetime Alex Stein. Some people think he's a complete shill. Alex Jones light, whatever you want to call him. He's highly entertaining as well. Highly entertaining as well. Kill the Bank says, got a feeling this is going to be a multiple episode series here. Well, the good news is we have multiple streams up now. So I don't think they will all fail. I'm still actually working on recovering some of the... I had this AI script. That's how I was able to pull some of the Steven Seagal interviews from when they were on InfoWars, and then InfoWars got taken down, and they hadn't been online in years, but I was able to still pull some of them. But for whatever reason, that's not working anymore. So, okay. Kim, welcome. Johnny Sizzle Chest, Victor Bangle, D-Wheel 37, Bubs. So let's see. Oh yeah, and then we have the, what do we call them? The Token Church of NASA Worshipper Bootlickers. We have this individual, Scott Ferguson. I never heard of him, but yeah, we'll see if this guy's goofy or not. I mean, he looks like he has a lot of soy in the diet, but we will see how this plays out. Again, none of these are ad homs, because I am not making the argument that what these guys are saying is true or untrue. I mean, that's something that, like, a lot of these anti-flat earth grifters, I mean, these either mentally disabled grifters or just these extraordinary actors that can go full retard very convincingly, they think that I'm committing an ad hom when I'm not making a claim, and I am not saying that these Church of NASA worshippers are wrong about their position, therefore it's not a fallacy. But we will be, of course, examining logical fallacies here in typical Mindshock fashion. No one is getting away with any logical fallacies. We're not about conclusions here on Mindshock, but argumentation for these logical analyses of videos. For those that don't know, logic concerns itself with strict principles of validity, what is or isn't valid in any argument, not necessarily the conclusion. People could be accidentally correct about things and be completely illogical on how they came to those accidentally correct conclusions. And we will be examining that all, including psychology and philosophy, as well as the differences between science and scientism, which you gotta give Sungenis credit. I mean, he really is one of these pioneers in exposing the religious cult of scientism. As always, if you want to help support the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, like and share Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon, Rumble, Twitch, Kick, and possibly plenty more to come. We are streaming on all of those. Also, you can become a YouTube member right here on YouTube to help support the channel that way. So, if there are no further questions, we will jump right in here.
So Alex Stein comes on this show and starts talking about wanting to go to Antarctica. And I asked the audience, I said, you know, look, it's your guys' memberships that help fund Timcast, the Culture War, the Morning Show, and all that stuff. Should we send Alex Stein to Antarctica to prove that the Earth is indeed not flat and it's not an ice wall? 99% said yes. It's $30,000. And I said, okay, Alex, when are you going to Antarctica? So answer the question.
Well, you know, I guess today we'll make that decision live on the show. But one thing I will say is that we have a great guy here by the name of Austin Witsit that is going to Antarctica on this expedition with ALE. So, in a way, I kind of feel like I'm going because I trust Austin. So, I saved you $30,000, so you're welcome, Tim. So
okay, all right.
And you should really you could give me a check for $15,000 because we're not going to use it, and then we can just call it even.
We'll get you halfway to Antarctica.
I'll just go to Chile. Okay, but this is also everybody's like, oh, it's so easy to go to Antarctica. First of all, and Austin can elaborate further on this. You have to fly from Dallas to Santiago, Chile, then Santiago, Chile to Punta Arenas, the tip of Chile, and then you got to take a flight from Chile, from Punta Arenas, the southernmost part of Chile, and take a 4-hour flight and land on the ice in Antarctica.
So you think that the Earth is flat and there's a giant ice wall?
I do not believe in the heliocentric model that they described.
Heliocentric?
Well, obviously the Earth is, there's mountains, there's valleys.
No, but heliocentric means that the sun is...
Excuse me, I'm a geocentrist. I don't believe in that.
The Earth could still be round.
Yeah, theoretically, that's what...
Okay, all right. So we're gonna, half the chat is like, you're all stupid, and the other half is like, LOL. So let's do a round of introductions for everybody before we just jump right into the debate. Sir, would you like to start?
So, right off the bat here, Tim Pool kind of betrayed his bias here with these circular reasoning fallacies, straw man fallacies. So, you're going to Antarctica to prove that the Earth is not flat, as opposed to you're going to Antarctica to see what you can find out. That would be the objective, logical, neutral, scientific position. So Tim Pool here clearly betraying his scientism bias. I mean, that's interesting because I actually wasn't, I really didn't know what to think about Tim Pool. Like, I still don't. I mean, this was one of the Occupy guys, right? Is this how he got his start? I believe so. He was an Occupy Wall Street guy? Does anybody in the chat know? That seems to ring a bell for me. I mean, I'm not 100% sure. I didn't follow his rise through journalism and Timcast and all that. But, I mean, he was one of the, I mean, wasn't Timcast, like, definitely kind of top 5, top 10-ish podcasts? I mean, he was up there with Rogan at one point. I believe that's his claim to fame, because I never heard of him before Occupy. I mean, I guess he did do some stuff, but he wasn't really big until then. Ron Boston Bear says, we need a Witsit was interrupted counter on this one. Oh, yeah, I forgot to add that to the new system. Are we using that only for the Mindshock debates? I mean, I did save all of our parameters, luckily. I mean, it was, yeah, I got the debate rules here. Let me just double check them real quick. I don't have anything about interruptions here. So there are 3 timeouts, 3 minutes for live fact checks for each debater. But, yeah, So I guess that was for the new analysis system, because I did not have that. Oh, maybe we did have that. We did have that planned, because the only new system used was for the solo division. With Matt Walsh humiliating himself on defending the moon landing. So that was solo edition, so interruptions aren't based, that wouldn't be applicable there. So maybe we do have those for that new system. Flat Bob says, I don't know how much you care about it, Bruce, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. After looking into the stereographic model of Flat Earth on Awake Souls channel, I will check it out. If you could send me an email on that, because sometimes I forget stuff that's brought in here. Yeah, any requests, I mean, you can make them in the live chat, but it's better to just email me or comment after the stream on the video. Because a lot of times YouTube actually disables the live chat, so nothing I can do about that. Sometimes it comes back after a day or two, sometimes it doesn't. Those are just YouTube glitches. Nothing I can do there. So, yeah, we do have to, we'll keep an eye on interruptions. And the other thing we're going to do is, since the new system is a bit complicated, the Street Fighter type system, welcome Lord Zed. Heracles says that was where he started being a journalist, Tim Pool at Occupy. I thought he had possibly done some stuff before that, but I don't remember. He was like some skateboarder. Did he cover some skateboarder stories or something? I really don't remember. But I think he mentioned something, because I have only seen a few of his streams. The ones with Alex Jones, Michael Malice. There was a couple decent ones, and him on Rogan. But not too many. Yeah, I don't know what to make of him. I really didn't have him in any particular category. But he is, he wasn't obviously super dumb. He's not obviously super smart. So, yeah, I really don't know what to make of him. But, yeah. So, the other thing we're going to do, since the new system is so complicated, it does take some time to analyze with the new system. I'm going to do these general logical analyses. And then everybody's going to vote on of which one of these is going to be run through the system. Because I'm not going to be able to do every single one with the new system. So that's how we'll do that. Anthony at ECF says, Bruce, I appreciate you re-uploading the one you did on Nathan Reynolds. Would you like to interview him sometime? That would be interesting, but I would need quite a lot of time to prepare for that. I mean, to interview a man like that, I mean, I would need quite a lot of time. The next interview, I will get the Mark Sargent interview back up, and the next Flat Earth interview will be Flat Earth Dave. I just got to finish scheduling that. I'm still working with the archive, trying to get all that up. Okay. So, the only other comment here I think I missed... What did I miss here? Victor says, all a globe believer has to do is circumnavigate Antarctica. I'm 99% sure it's not possible. Well, navigate around Antarctica could be possible. Even in a flat model, you would just log somewhere around 60,000 miles like Captain Cook allegedly logged, right? Welcome, Sarah here. Joan says, Tim Pool, in my opinion, is an egomaniacal gatekeeper. Oh, there's an interesting theory. Yeah, I do not have him pegged as anything, but by the end of this, let's see what kind of category we can put him in, if any.
With your credentials, who you are, what do you do?
My name is Robert Sungenis, and I've written many books, half of them on science, and one of them is called Galileo Was Wrong, the Church Was Right.
Really?
That's a 3-volume, 2,200-page thing. So we cover the history, the ecclesiastics, the science, and anything else that's available to talk about. So that's one of my claims to fame. And the other is we put out a movie in 2014 called The Principle. I don't know if you've heard of it or not. You haven't heard of it?
No, I've not heard of it.
This is yours.
Oh, all
Tim,
right.
you need to
one for
watch
you.
that documentary.
Oh, yeah?
It's a very good documentary.
Is it on like Amazon or any streaming service?
It's on streaming. You can buy it on Amazon. You can buy it for
Oh, okay, cool.
days.
We can put it on afterwards. We'll put it on.
Sure.
Yeah. Because we don't have a DVD player.
Oh, okay. Nobody does anymore.
Right. All right. So it should be interesting.
That was a theatrical release.
Oh, okay,
in
cool.
2014. We started in Chicago, went to LA, and then 15 more cities in the U.S. It was on AMC, Regal Cinemas.
Oh, wow.
So it was a big deal, but it got shot down, and it became a flop because we had a lot of enemies.
Do you want to pull your mic up a little bit closer?
Sure.
Just, point it upwards. Right on. We'll get into all of that. So you're a doctor, though. I think that's important, right? You have credentials.
Yeah, I have credentials.
There you go.
All of them are in theology,
Oh, excellent.
but I was a physics major in college, too, so I know some of the science.
Oh, very, very nice. All right, sir. How about you, good sir? I hear you're going to Antarctica?
Yeah. My name's Austin Witsit. I run the channel Witsit Gets It. I describe myself as autodidactic, maybe. So I just dove into cosmology a lot over the last few years. So that's my primary focus. It is not what we have been told. It is cosmology. And yeah, I did a lot of activism during the 2020 range. So that's kind of what started me down making content. So yeah, I primarily focus on cosmology, and I'm going to Antarctica.
All right.
And should be exciting.
And you think the Earth is flat?
Yes.
Austin's the
Yes.
the
He's the
number
guy, huh?
one when it comes to flat Earth, backwards and forwards. This guy knows it better than
All right,
anybody
all
else
right.
in the world.
And we got one more gentleman with us, sir.
And let's get right into the psychology. Look how relaxed, happy, and smiling Austin Witsit is. I mean, does anybody think Michael Jordan is nervous when he's playing street ball with some kids? Austin Witsit, for those that have not been following the Mindshock Logical Analysis series on various debates, Austin Witsit's probably my pick for the greatest of all time. I mean, his systematic, calm destruction of all in his path using pure logic is something I have never seen before. I mean, he was so impressive. That's actually what kind of, again, led me in. At first, it was just the hilarity of it all. Like Mark Sargent just destroying people with just basic common sense, because Mark Sargent doesn't go that deep into anything. And then there was Austin Witsit, who does go pretty deep into everything. I mean, he has studied science and scientism, and it seems like he's starting to study psychology a lot as well. I need to do a round table with him as well, because he's extremely impressive. I I haven't used this clip here in a while, but I think we might have to for Austin here. Actually, I don't think I've ever used this yet, and I think Austin has made it necessary.
That's what I'm. That's what I'm. That's what I'm talking about. That's why he's the MVP. That's why he's the GOAT. The GOAT. That's what I'm talking about. That's why he's the MVP. That's why he's the GOAT. The GOAT.
Who are you?
So my name is Scott Ferguson. I run the channel Astronomy Live. I have a PhD, but it's in neuroscience. But Austin invited me to come here today, I guess, as a representative for the mainstream science. So I do amateur astronomy. I develop a lot of software for tracking rockets and satellites.
Sorry, can you put your mic closer?
Yep. Yeah, so I develop software for tracking rockets and satellites with off-the-shelf telescopes. Film a lot of rocket launches, film a lot of satellites, ISS, all kinds of stuff. I've measured the radius of the Earth, the distance of the Sun, the distance of Mars, the distance of various satellites. So, yeah, I mean, my amateur astronomy hobby probably has some applicability, but for full declaration, like my PhD in neuroscience is irrelevant to the discussion today.
Okay, so some interesting observations with this Ferguson guy. So he's got all these NASA stickers. He's got, I mean, what is this? Some kind of, is that a mouse? He's got all his NASA fanboyism plastered all over his laptop. So he's clearly worships at the Church of NASA. Now, we will see whether he is also scientific or not, in addition to the NASA worship. Like, notice how Austin or Alex Stein, they don't have any laptops with flat Earth stickers on them. Like, think about how immature. I mean, if this guy's a grown man, I mean, he's got a goatee. Looks like his soy level's pretty high, quite chunky. But, again, at least he has the mental wherewithal not to lean on his degree from indoctrination facilities. Even though it's not directly relevant, what did they say, neuroscience, some kind of neuro degree. I mean, you would think he would still be familiar with the scientific method. Who thinks he's actually familiar with it? Independent variables, dependent variables, controls. Who thinks he's familiar with how all that works? Now, he has software for tracking rockets, etc. Now, how has he verified that he's tracking what he thinks he is tracking in relation to where he thinks it is being tracked from? Because again, I mean, you can track airplanes, but unless you have line of sight verification, you would not only need line of sight verification, you would also need verification. Like if you're going from one continent to another, this is what nobody's talking about. I mean, this is just such basic logic. And again, this is why the flat Earth topic is so fascinating and so crucial and effective at developing basic logic. This is without even jumping to any conclusion. Without jumping to the conclusion of globe, flat, whatever. Just the argumentation involved here. The logic involved in trying to determine how you know what you think you know. Anthony at ECF says, Rob Skiba destroyed Robert Sungenis in a debate a few years ago. It was epic. I have not seen that. That sounds like it would be a good one. But let's see how Sungenis does here, and then I will put that on the agenda. So, regarding this guy, this Ferguson guy, you would need to know where the continents are in relation to each other, verify those distances, then verify whatever you're tracking above them. Because without any verification, all you're doing is building on blind faith. You're just building this house of cards. So, but yeah, at least he has the mental wherewithal to comprehend that whatever degree, I mean, although I guess if he had the degree in astrophysics or whatever, he'd probably lean on it. So maybe we shouldn't give him too much credit here, but who knows? Let's see how it plays out. Seabass says, what are the odds that serpent tongue NASA has a serpent on a skateboard in the background that says step on something and find out? Okay, yeah, that's funny. So that's is that Tim Pool's skateboard there? I'm assuming. I mean, this guy looks like he's just got way too much soy in his system to skateboard or do any kind of sports. Again, that's not an ad hom because I'm not saying he's wrong about any of his arguments. Because I know goofs like if goofs like Craig of Fight the Flat Earth or any of those brain dead goofs cover this, they're gonna say that's an ad hom because they don't even know what a logical fallacy is. But anyway. Let's continue. Oh, well, Jones says, leaned on it right off the bat. I have a PhD. Okay, but he said it's not really relevant here. So I'm saying the mental wherewithal to at least say that, because there's a lot of goofs who wouldn't even say that. I'm not giving him too much credit here. I'm just saying there's a lot of people who say, oh, they're going to say, oh, well, they're college educated. I have a PhD, where he made a specific point to say that it's not relevant here.
I watched a video on X, and it was a rocket launch, and the rocket gets way up, and then all of a sudden it explodes. And I was told that it was the rocket hitting the firmament and blowing up, and that proves it, doesn't it?
In a way, it does. But, it's funny though you say that, because there's videos online, Tim, of like a little kid being like, "Daddy, why is that rocket curving?" If you ever see a rocket launch, they always do curve.
It's the Coriolis effect.
Yeah, right. Man, I'm sick of this. And then this another thing is, well, because my biological stepfather, Tucker Carlson, I love you very much, Tucker. Thank you for everything you do. He came on my show and we debated flat Earth a little bit, and he's like, "Well, I don't think it can be flat because snipers have to factor in the Coriolis effect." Yet, if you talk to any sniper, they never have to do that calculation. There's not a sniper that's ever done that in battle, done a Coriolis mathematical equation to figure it out.
Well, Google says you're wrong. And if Google says it, that
Google
proves it.
also says, what does it say? It says a man can have a baby. So, I mean, Google says men can get pregnant.
I gotta be honest though, that actually does make it challenging to a certain degree. Obviously, you can measure these things, but when Google tells you men can get pregnant, it does call into question a lot of the claims they make, because we're like, hold on there a minute. But without diving into that subject, there's an interesting point about whether we trust mainstream acceptable knowledge, right? And so if we go back to hundreds of years, and you'll know this better than me, but when the view was that we were a geocentric solar system or universe, that was the mainstream view, was it not?
Sure.
So people generally accepted the Earth was the center of the universe.
Well, the Greeks were divided.
Oh,
Pythagoras was a geocentrist. By the time of Aristotle, the same thing. But Aristarchus of Samos was a heliocentrist. And that's where Copernicus got his model from, Aristarchus. Copernicus didn't really do much work.
Okay, so quite a few issues here. So first of all, look at Tim Pool religiously defaulting to the mainstream narrative of history as if it couldn't be true. As if it couldn't be true. As if it couldn't not be true. So, just that religious fervor in Tim Pool's voice. I am Ion's Cat, welcome. There's no backup channel for YouTube at the moment, but we are multi-streaming on Rumble, Twitch, and Kick. Interesting. Seabass said, my feed cut out as soon as you posted that link. All the feeds or just the Rumble? Well, let me double check the Rumble. See if it's still going. Yeah, for some reason it says test. But it should still be going. Yeah, I did a test earlier. I guess it's supposed to duplicate all of the titles, but yeah, for some reason Rumble has the most difficult streaming interface. I don't know why. But I think... Let me double check the Twitch. It should be mirrored. Well, the Twitch just says Mindshock podcast. And wow, it does say offline. Interesting. Did all the streams fail as soon as I posted the Rumble link? Huh. That's weird. That is very weird indeed. Well, it's still saying... Okay. It's saying live, but offline. Interesting. Yeah, that's pretty weird. Not sure what's... Okay, it says I'm live, but it's just a black screen offline. Okay, I don't know what's going on with the Twitch then. And... Okay, the kick stream should be working. So I will post that link. Let's see what happens when I post the link. Wonder if when I post the link, everything goes down. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with Twitch, but everything else seems to be working. Okay. Okay, Seabass says it's fine now, but it just dropped for no reason right when he posted. Yeah, I noticed that as well. Okay, maybe I don't know what's going on, but anyway. Joan says, I'm trying to remember the details of when I learned Poole was a liar, but I must have made room for more important info and it vanished. Oh, Truth Trollette in here. Okay, cool. So, yeah, so I was just going to say, in terms of the Greeks being divided, so props to Sungenis for knowing that. But look at the way Tim Poole religiously regurgitated mainstream history as if it couldn't be fabricated anyway, or not necessarily fabricated, but just the fallibility of humans. The fallibility of historians. Basic fallibility. Run Boston Bear says, please set up a Ko-Fi so we can super chat there so you got almost all the proceeds. I'm tired of YouTube taking 30%. I actually have Streamlabs set up for the multi-stream. And I believe that is 90%. So let me see here. I don't know if a lot of people use Streamlabs for viewing, though. So it should have... Yeah, I mean, I'll look into that later as well. And X. But... Okay, so with the Greeks, they were not only divided, again, this is according to modern, whatever, a modern understanding of the past 2,000 years, nobody ever brings up On the Nature of Things by Lucretius, one of the most seminal works of history and science, like brain-dead goofs like Soy Lodge. I mean, they built their entire argument, oh, everybody knew for thousands of years. I mean, the Chinese didn't even know. Until the 1400s or 1500s, or even early 1600s, depending on what you're reading. I mean, some of this, like, and the ancient Chinese developed gunpowder, paper, printing press, just incredible inventions. And they were operating with the flat earth cosmology, so the brain-dead goofery of people like Soy Lodge in claiming that, that everything was just running off of a globe cosmology for over 2,000 years. Apparently nothing was, and even the Greeks were divided all the way into Rome. So there was never really any kind of consensus in any way, and Lucretius goes over all of this and On the Nature of Things. So we'll see how much further Sungenis takes it. He looks really unhappy to be here, though. Does he know Witsit's about to unleash on him? Is Witsit about to lay the smackdown on all these fools?
Measuring planets and all that. So he got it from the Greeks, but he got the same model that was built on circles. So his model really didn't work well until Kepler came along and put them in elliptical orbits, and it worked a little better, but it still wasn't perfect. But Copernicus basically was copying from the Greeks.
So what's your view? You think it's a geocentric solar system or universe? How would you describe it?
I do, yeah. And with Newton, that was not allowed. Newton had equations, F equals ma, and some other ones that only allowed a heliocentric universe. The rest of the universe was absolute and inert. It had no effect on our solar system. So the way Newton figured things out was the sun's the biggest thing, has the most gravity. That means all the planets have to go around it, including the Earth. And that's all his system would allow because he dealt only with the solar system and forgot the rest of the universe.
Oh, interesting.
Okay?
Well, so is the Earth stationary?
Yeah.
So you do believe in a stationary Earth?
Oh, yeah.
What do you think about that, Scott? You don't believe in that, obviously.
No, I mean, so in general relativity, we can describe a reference frame in which Earth is centered and stationary, but general relativity says there is no preferred reference frame. You can't have an absolute reference frame in general relativity. It just doesn't work. So, you can describe things that way, but yeah, in my view, it makes sense that, the sun has the most mass in the solar system. Sure, you can describe a reference frame where Earth is stationary, but you could equally describe one where we go around the solar system barycenter. I'm not a heliocentrist in the sense that I think that our solar system's the center of the universe. Obviously, and I'm sure we'll get into it, but there's a lot of talk about the cosmic microwave background radiation, and that's basically a fragment from, the Big Bang.
So I was just about to give this guy a little bit of credit for bringing it up, but then he religiously regurgitates that it's a fragment of the Big Bang. Now, again, I mean, just this fallacy stacking. False premises, false dichotomies, circular reasoning fallacies, strawmen, all of these diversion logical fallacies, false cause logical fallacies. I mean, these are impressive stacks. I mean, maybe we will have to run this through the advanced system, the advanced news system, because that's an impressive stack, and the religious fervor in his voice leaves no question for him that the Big Bang really happened, and this radiation is from the Big. It's not radiation from something else. It couldn't have been something other than the Big Bang. Like, there's no room there. So this is as anti-science as you can get. Like, there's no room. Unified Matrix, we are live, buddy. Thanks for the super chat, Flat Bob. Smash the like button, people. Do it. Lord Zed said, Poole interviewed and sucked up to Damien Eccles, too, for what it's worth. Alright, so is he like a Joe Rogan-esque flip-flopper, depending on who's on and depending what mood he's in? He just randomly says random things with no logic and reason. But, okay, so he brought up the cosmic background radiation, which is interesting, because usually the scientism cultists don't want to talk about that. So already we have, this is kind of an interesting panel here. We have Sungenis, a geocentrist, a pioneer in modern geocentrism. We have Austin Witsit, possibly the greatest debater of all time on the flat Earth side. We have this weirdo NASA guy, this soy-infused Church of NASA worshiper, who's just regurgitating religiously. And then we have Alex Stein, this just bozo comedian, which Alex Stein serves an interesting purpose because even though he's kind of dumb, he does point out certain basic logical and common sense points. So it kind of goes to show you don't really have to be that smart to understand basic children's level logic in terms of questioning things. Now, I don't know if Alex Stein can actually back anything up, but in terms of just the questioning, the scientific questioning, science is skepticism, not blind faith. Oh, Witsit in the chat says he brought it up because he heard Robert and I discussing it prior to the show. I withdraw my credit. Thank you, Witsit, for that. I withdraw the credit I just gave. Because I was kind of impressed, and Austin setting the record straight in the chat here that he heard Robert and Witsit discussing it prior. So he didn't bring it up of his own volition. So I withdraw the credit I just gave this guy. Oh, man. But yeah, hopefully Witsit sticks around for more questions because this is actually one of the most interesting panels assembled thus far in Flat Earth Debate.
Where you have this leftover radiation, and certain aspects of it seem to suggest that it aligns well with the ecliptic plane, which is the orbits that the planets go around the sun.
So, again, a logical fallacy stack there of circular reasoning, logical fallacies. The presupposing that not only are these celestial bodies terra firma planets, but they are circling the sun. I mean, just the amount of fallacy stacking here, you would think. I mean, I'm kind of curious to see what Austin does with this, but you would think there'd be some kind of of awareness of just the basic scientific method instead of all this house of cards stacking. But scientism cultists, for whatever reason, they're just so far gone religiously that it doesn't seem strange to them. They have no self-awareness. No, the mental capacity, the wherewithal is not there to realize what they're saying is religious. Because otherwise, they would just cite the evidence and then make that claim.
But those alignments are not as exact as some make them out to be. And there's also the fact that we have an annual shift in the cosmic microwave background radiation. You can actually see a modulation of it as we go around the sun every year.
Yeah, but in the cosmic microwave background, it does, in that picture, it shows the Earth as the center of the universe.
I got to do a pause real quick because we got fact checked by someone in the super chat already.
Yeah, that's not true. Google does say
No, I'm sorry. I Googled it, and Google says no. So
it used to say yes.
Look at this. Google's AI says no. A person born with male reproductive organs and living as a man cannot get pregnant.
Wow.
Wow, that changed.
It says, however, some transgender men and non-binary people can become pregnant.
The Trump effect?
Well, it used to be yes. Oh, but back to the cosmic microwave background.
Yeah, back to the...
It says if you...
You know what's absolutely hilarious, though? All the scientism cultist goofs who are calling Flat Earth stupid, a lot of them actually do believe that men can get pregnant. Like a lot of the liberal scientism cultists, like they go with whatever the leftist agenda on the idiot box, whatever the propaganda tells them to think, they think. So they think questioning the nature of reality is stupid as it pertains to the shape of the Earth. But men can get pregnant. And you know what? How insane it is that it even needs to be debated. And Google is switching, like, these again, appeal to authorities and genetic logical fallacies where they're taking some kind of source, whether it's Google or Wiki or whatever, as some kind of gospel. And then when the gospel flip-flops, what then? But then they pretend it didn't flip-flop. All while calling actual scientific inquiry stupid and something that doesn't need to be debated. It's pretty hilarious. It's pretty hilarious. By the way, Austin, if you didn't get my messages, I actually asked you because I did not have a backup. I don't know if you or anybody you know might have backed up or downloaded the first part of the analysis. I only did one part so far of you and Dave Farina, so-called Professor Dave. Apparently the entire Mindshock channel got nuked within 24 hours of that episode. Could be coincidental, I don't know.
You do believe that is a real thing, right?
Of course.
Yeah, and it does show that the Earth is the center of that?
Well, what it shows is it shows certain alignments, but they're off by anywhere from 8 to 17 degrees if you convert it to ecliptic coordinates. So if you
This guy's kind of funny. If you go PostHawk and fit assumed data from assumed variables and reverse engineer PostHawk, then it appears to have shifted slightly. I mean, the soy cope here is kind of insane. Like, you could hear it in his voice. Just the mental gymnastics in the cope. Because how many fallacies does he have to stack just in order to produce this level of cope? I mean, because it's not one. He had to stack multiple fallacies here in order to cope with the fact that the original cosmic background radiation... I mean, I can put it on the screen right now. I'll put it on the screen right now. Because he's claiming that the newer one... Which, again, it's almost kind of like the whole LIGO thing and gravitational waves being discovered. I mean, you don't know how much of the data is injected, etc., etc. And with all of this modern tech, like, you really don't know what they're doing. He's taking it on blind faith that there's all this shifting and it's not exact. But if we go to the original, the first one taken, Witsit, I sent you a message on Twitter and also through somewhere else. I don't even remember now. But so this is from the original Sloan survey data. I mean, there's really not much shifting here. I mean, that's why they called it the fingers of God. So the amount of post-hoc cope in order to shift this to make it not 100% exact. And again, what is the fallibility of the technology, of the instruments being used to even detect this? Each dot is a galaxy. The streaks pointing towards Earth at the center are all fingers of God. So this is back in 72. And again, it looks like 97 also shows something very similar here. So even if there's slight shift, like, what's the margin of error for this detection? Like, this goof is hallucinating that it's 17 to whatever degrees off. But in terms of galaxies, is that within the margin of error of the instruments? Or does this goof have such blind faith in human technology that he thinks it's so completely infallible? It is so accurate. It's accurate to the degree that 17 degrees is a lot. I mean, just the level of goofery to cope this hard with the extremely clear survey data here. I mean, on a and again, I'm not saying this data is true in any way, but the scientism cultists believe in all this stuff. And maybe it is true. But what I find curious is that all these brain-dead scientism cultists, they hallucinate. There's no there's no room for error at all in any of human-made technology. I mean, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy.
That's not much. I mean, you're making it sound like that's a whole big deal. It's not much.
But I think
you have the quadrupole, the octopole, the axis of evil, three that are different, and so they're going to be shooting up in different directions.
Those are all different from each other as well. They're all
but
about 8 to
they're not
17
different in
degrees.
the sense that they're looking at a different microwave radiation. They're just modulating it differently because now you have 8 harmonic.
But I'm saying they're not all co-aligned. They're off by 8 to 17 degrees. I mean, it's
But
it's
the
an
middle of that
coincidence,
8 to
but it's
17
not.
degrees is the axis of evil.
Right.
That's the issue.
What is that?
The axis of evil is a term given to one of those directions that is aligned almost exactly with our ecliptic plane, 23.5 degrees. Okay, so if you're supposed to be out there in the remote recesses of space, like the Big Bangers think, the Earth is just out there with everybody else. It has no significance, no speciality. How is this radiation aligned with the Earth-Sun ecliptic plane? when it's
Accident?
just
Coincidence?
But again, my point is the alignment is not that exact. The quadrupole is.
it's
is
enough
based on the
scientists to
equinox.
say this is something.
They called it
Okay.
evil. Let's make sure everyone understands it. So in
Evil.
in the globe model, they say the Earth is tilted at 23.4 degrees. So
And then
it's-
but real quick, sorry, Austin's about to go on a very good rant, and we need to let him talk. But when you say that tilt, Tim, 23.4 degrees, subtract that from 100. What is that?
90. Subtract
Excuse me,
from
from
a
90
degree
degrees. What
angle.
is that?
23.4, 66.6.
Six.
666. And then, how fast is the Earth orbiting the Sun, Austin?
66,600 miles per hour.
Is that true?
That is true.
That's not, he says yes.
That's true. And tell him, is that
In the-
not
in
true?
the
Is it not going
heliocentric
60?
model.
So,
Right.
so Earth's orbital velocity is constantly changing. There's no one exact value. And if you look at it to, you know,
What's the average of
yeah,
it?
average.
well, I mean, that's about the average, but
I mean, look at Austin putting him in his place. I mean, this goof was trying to squirm and mental gymnastics his way out of having to admit that that is the average. Now, now obviously there could be slight differences, and according to of course, the mainstream. I mean, I went over all of this on the Sartain analysis, where Sartain, the current reigning, defending Dunning-Kruger champ, although we haven't officially finished the Craig versus Caleb either. But so Craig's waiting in the wings there, and then Farina, so-called Professor Dave. I mean, he upped his fallacy game so much for his so-called debate with Witsit. I mean, he was spewing fallacies so much faster and in a greater variety than what he did against Flat Earth Dave. So we got a lot of contenders here. But in the Sartain podcast, Sartain was claiming it was constant and all of this, so I actually went through the mainstream scientism positions of the accelerating and decelerating galaxies and arms of entire arms of galaxies, etc., from in different locations within the universe and all of that. But again, like, this goof is saying it's not exact. Look at this scale here, though. Like, look at the scale. Like, let's say it's not exact. Like, it's an approximation. I mean, look at this approximation over an infinite or near infinite universe. And he's saying, well, it's not exact. Oh, man. I mean, it's so hilarious how, like, I mean, I'm trying to think of, like, if somebody gets bullseye playing darts from a great distance and they could just keep doing it. And he's going to argue it's all coincidental because it's off slightly. It's not the absolute exact bullseye. But even though it's close, it's off by whatever fraction of a millimeter. Because it wasn't exact, he's going to say that guy's actually not that good at darts, and that doesn't mean that he's super good and he can hit it every time, and it's all by design and he's intentionally hitting it. I mean, that's basically this goof's position by hallucinating by saying that this isn't exact enough. I mean, they literally called it the fingers of God for this reason. I'm surprised Sungenis didn't bring that up in the Sloan survey data. So, Austin in the chat saying, I do not have it, but I may know someone that can get it. Well, that would be really awesome. I apparently also lost the, I don't know how this happened, because I definitely had it. So, I don't know where it went. I also lost the Alex Jones versus Eddie Bravo and Flat Earth Dave debate. That was a really good one. It's just not showing up on these servers where I had it backed up, and it's just not there. The title's there, but the files aren't there, and other files are. So hopefully whoever, I mean, if you have someone, when you say can get it, does that mean somebody's like downloading all these Flat Earth videos, or are you using also some kind of cache recovery? Because I tried a few and they used to work. They don't really seem to work anymore. YouTube servers are getting real funky. Hidden Horror in the chat here. That's an ominous name. Shifty Eyes Shady as well. Salt says, how do these guys do it to themselves? Oh, man. Truth Trollette says, Craigie is a contradicting fool. Haley in the chat as well. Lord Zed says, how can you know what shape it is when you can't say where the end of it is? No, but it's funny because he tried to squirm his way out of the average and Austin nailed him with it. I mean, just absolutely nailing this goof to the wall who's trying to do all his mental gymnastics to pretend it's not weird that 666 keeps coming up endlessly. Oh, wow. Witsit says, I know someone that backs up practically all Flat Earth content on the internet at all times. That is awesome. That is absolutely awesome. If you, whoever hasn't heard the Columbine series, I actually brought this up. There used to be a woman who used to live in New York. I think she passed maybe somewhere around 2012 or somewhere around then. Between 2000 and 2012, she recorded every single news broadcast on VHS since I think the 70s. And her apartment was just stacked with tens of thousands of VHS tapes. So in the Columbine series, apparently it's just very difficult to get any of the news footage that aired that day, like day one. You can find all the stuff from day 2 and onward, but there's only select clips from day 1 available. Like, they scrubbed all the helicopter footage for some reason, so she probably had it. So I was wondering who had all her tapes, but that is awesome that there is an archiver. So hopefully they got those 2 streams that I missed.
Yeah. 666. And then how fast is the Earth orbiting the sun, Austin?
66,600 miles per hour.
Is that true?
That is true.
That's a sign. He says yes.
That's true. And tell him, is that not
in
true?
the
Is it not going
heliocentric
60?
model.
So, so Earth's orbital velocity is constantly changing. There's no one exact value. And if you look at it to
What's the average of
Yeah,
it?
average.
well, I mean, that's about the average.
That's what I'm talking about. That's why he's the MVP. That's why That's what I'm talking about. That's why he's the MVP. That's why he's the GOAT. The GOAT.
But
That's exactly the average.
That proves it. The Earth is flat.
Yeah, there you
Exactly.
go.
Yeah. Wait. It's
But even the 23.4, that's not exact either, and it's constantly changing. We actually have to calculate this. Anytime we do coordinate conversions to ecliptic coordinates, we have to take the current obliquity of the ecliptic. The tilt of the Earth is constantly changing slightly.
Yeah, he's
So-
right.
But you're
Now, I've never used, I don't think I've actually ever accused anybody of word salad. But that's word salad right there, folks. He just stacked. Oh man, he stacked so many fallacies, so many presuppositions, a house of cards so tall to try to explain away that number. Like, what tilt? Has he actually proven the tilt of the... Well, first of all, I mean, you gotta go back several steps. First of all, if it's a globe, I mean, tilt in relation to what? Because, I mean, if you hold a ball in empty space and you turn the ball, like, the tilt is in relation to what? The plane of the universe? How do you establish where the plane is relative to the position of a sphere in empty space? I mean, that's step 1. They're not even there. Actually, that's not even step 1, because you'd have to prove it was a globe first. So technically, that would be step 2 and 3. So this is a lot of layers of the House of Cards of Scientism that Ferguson is spamming here. Now, he is semi-impressive in his regurgitation ability, because he spammed all those fallacies pretty quickly right off bat with all these multi-syllable scientism words to try to sound smart, but when you break it down, none of them actually add up, and they're all circular reasoning stacked on circular reasoning with post-hoc explanations to try to match up the circular reasoning house of cards. Witsit gets it, says, I think I did call him out for this, but he got away with quite a bit because of the dynamic of the panel. Yeah, I mean, this is a crazy panel. No, have you guys ever done a one-on-one? Because, wait, were you the one? I think in the opening, Tim Pool said that Austin was the one who invited this guy on. Salt says, how can that guy walk around with those cringe space fetishist stickers on his laptop? Well, it's kind of fanboyism. I called that, I mentioned that at the beginning. Like, you don't see these flat earthers with all these stickers on their laptops. I mean, this is crazy, but that was an impressive logical fallacy. I think I really do have to run this through the advanced logical fallacy system, because Ferguson. I mean, I was kind of sleeping on Ferguson due to his soy appearance, but looks can be deceiving. I mean, this guy can talk fast. I don't know if he's Sartain level, but I mean, looks can be deceiving. It looks like he's not going to go gentle into that good night in seeding the Dunning-Kruger Championship. It looks like he really is not going to go gentle into that good night.
You're just saying that, right? Like, this is the thing. This is what always happens. You just people just beg the question and assert the model, and then equate that to being true.
But I measure
what
it.
That's what I'm talking about. That's why he's the MVP. That's why he's the GOAT. The GOAT.
That's the
You
beauty
didn't
of it.
measure the Earth being tilted. What
Yeah,
you
I did.
What you
I
did
did,
was
actually.
you looked at the sun, you reified and assumed your model. You assumed the causation of the ecliptic plane was actually the Earth tilted. That's what you did. So what we see, so I want the audience to understand, we see the sun move in a certain path. They're claiming it looks tilted because the Earth is tilted and it's an illusion. They also claim that what's called the analemma, so the sun does this like extended figure eight that isn't perfectly symmetrical if you time lapse it throughout the year. They say that's because we're moving. And it makes it look like the sun is moving. So obviously, just in very simple terms, we're saying, oh, the sun is moving. That's why we see the sun moving. You're claiming it's an illusion. So you actually have the burden of proof just on its face, right?
That's what I'm talking about. That's why he's the MVP. That's why he's the GOAT. The GOAT.
So I do want to also point out here, Austin is the only guy here. He is the only guy here or in any of these debates that is, I mean, look how calm and casually he's explaining both sides of the argument. He is clearly demonstrating comprehension of both sides. Notice how he's also not the one making a claim here. He's explaining what the claim is made, and the belief of both sides of the model without asserting which one is true. I mean, this is how proper debating is done. And again, I can't play that clip enough times here, because when was the last time you saw a debate on any topic where someone did this? On any scientific or any kind of topic. I mean, just look at a random sports debate on who's the great. I mean, how many people clearly outline both sides of the argument? And also notice how he dumbed it down a little bit, because the scientism cultist Ferguson, he's trying to sound smart. Like, you can tell he's an ego-dominated narcissist who's trying to sound smart, where Austin looks like he's genuinely trying to explain the concept so not only all of these parties understand it, but everybody listening understands it. Whereas Ferguson looks like he's just trying to sound smart to everybody listening and not lose the argument instead of pursue the truth. So, yeah, very, very telling here. Witsit says, I had over 5 PhDs back out after tentatively agreeing and had another 20 turn it down, so we had to go with this guy last minute. I think I have 2 more for you, Austin. The other thing that was kind of weird, the Mindshock channel got shut down within 24 hours of me posting Austin Witsit versus Dave Farina, so-called Professor Dave, Part 1, and also announcing that I would be hosting No Fallacies Allowed debates. And I had an open call for any PhDs in any scientific fields that were willing to debate Flat Earth with no fallacies allowed. I had no takers for about a week, and then now I have 2, and they have sent me proof of their credentials. So if Austin wanted to debate, I think there were 1 or 2 Flat Earthers who wanted to debate as well, but this would be a no fallacy, I will stop, nobody will be allowed to utter any fallacies. You will be stopped. And so only 2 PhDs agreed to that. I mean, I spammed it all over Reddit. Like, tens of thousands of people saw it. and there were only 2 takers. So I might have 2 more for you, Witsit, but again, I can't guarantee they're not going to back out. I don't really know them. But let's continue here.
What always happens is
But Austin,
Real quick. Sorry, just
Sure.
put a pin in it. I'm curious. If you have a geocentric view, why is the sun doing a figure 8?
Well, the analemma is complicated. I mean, I do cover it in the book here, but there is a certain, and the analemma actually moves itself by a few degrees.
What is that?
It's
That's the figure 8.
how the sun is going to, it moves daily, okay, and yearly. There's 2 different movements of the sun. The analemma is going to go by the yearly movement, okay? So that's why it makes a complete figure 8. You get the same thing when they put satellites up in over the Earth. They make a figure 8. You can make them make a figure 8. You can make them make a circle. You can make them do anything depending on how fast you make the satellite move and the tilt that you want it to have along the equator, okay? So the sun has a certain tilt, 23.4 degrees, and it's going to go longer in the north than it does in the south. So you're going to get a figure 8 that's going to represent the different speeds of the sun compared to where the Earth is. And it's complicated, but
But
that's
my point is
basically what
simply whether you believe that the Earth is going around the sun or the sun is going around the Earth, you can still measure that. You can still
it is.
measure
Sure,
that.
yeah.
Of course, it's an observation. You're assuming the cause of the observation is the Earth is moving.
But you
This
said
is
I didn't
actually what's
measure
it's even worse though. Like,
No.
let's just use it like really simple terms. Occam's razor. So if you have an explanation you have 2 different explanations for the same cause or phenomena, right? You're going to go with the simplest one that requires least amount of assumptions if they're both viable. And then if you're going to claim that there's something else that requires more assumptions, you got to verify it. It's actually way worse than this though. It's been scientifically proven with empirical measurement that the Earth is not moving, and we've actually shown that the interferometry correlates to periodicity of the sun, meaning that the solar motion, how light travels and interferes with itself, changes based on the time of year. So it is empirically proven that the Earth is not moving. So not only do we not just grant it to you, right? Because you're just saying the model as if it's true.
Yeah, I
This
think
is
he
kind of the problem
understands.
we have.
He understands that.
Wait a second. So Sungenis is claiming that Ferguson understands that. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, Austin, do you know why Sungenis said that? Because that's kind of a weird thing to... Because, like, why would he even say that? Why would he claim to know what somebody else understands? Like, that's just a weird... That's kind of a... Do they know each other? Austin, do these 2 guys know each other prior to this? Like, why would he randomly claim to know what someone else understands? I mean, that's weird. That's weird. Because it seems like he doesn't. Because, again, false cause, logical fallacy. I mean, again, we need to go back to the scientific method. I mean, we need to go all the way back to the scientific method. Witsit says, I don't think so, but he actually runs cover for him a few times. That's kind of weird, isn't it? Wait, why is he running cover for a heliocentrist? Did they just feel that intimidated by Austin laying the smackdown out? And you know what else is kind of funny? How old... I don't know how old Austin is. He looks pretty young. And this Ferguson guy looks kind of young. Sungenis is the older guy. But a lot of times, older guys are just really intimidated by young guys making them look dumb. And that makes them look even dumber. Now, I don't know if that's exactly what's going on with Sungenis, but I've seen this so many times in debates where older guys can't handle the younger guys that are really composed and just absolutely run over them with just complete decimation. Why is Sungenis running cover for this guy? This is kind of weird. I mean, is a conspiracy afoot here where they agreed before the fact to try to, double team Austin here because they didn't want him making them look too dumb? Dr. Boss says, I think it was a nervous type of cover, yeah. Boggin says, Sungenis is between a rock and a flat place. Oh, man. No, it's just kind of funny. It's really, like, when was the last time someone in a debate, not even on the same side as somebody else in a panel, is hallucinating to know what somebody else understands? If he understood that, why would he have said that? Now, again, if it's not a false cosmological fallacy, why didn't Ferguson cite the evidence adhering to the scientific method to support the position? And since when? I mean, you can measure a lot of things, but that's, I mean, that's a very small part of the scientific method. It's just, it's weird. It's weird. I mean, again, in a Mindshock type debate, Ferguson would have had to have demonstrated his knowledge of the scientific method, so then it could just be referenced here. And of course, you know, what a false cosmological fallacy is. I mean, that's why you have the scientific method, so you can avoid false cosmological fallacies as well as many other logical fallacies.
And I want to take off from where you left off with general relativity and then go back to his point, if you don't mind. It might take me a couple minutes, but so you admit with general relativity that the sun can go around the earth or the earth can go around the sun, right?
You can describe it that way.
Well, I mean,
Einstein
it has to
did say
be
that.
real for you to describe it that way.
And here's Sungenis talking to this goof like he's a small child. Like, why would you describe things that aren't real? Like, if you actually care about what the truth is, like, this is really weird. I mean, wow. Ferguson's plummeting fast here. You can describe it that way? Like, does Ferguson not care about what actual reality is? But Sungenis' shift from, I wonder if he still thinks after this answer from Ferguson, does Sungenis still think that Ferguson understands anything about anything? Because Sungenis looks like he got frustrated with Ferguson there, because Sungenis is trying to talk about reality and what the truth is, whereas Ferguson's just in some kind of fantasy land where any model could theoretically be true, and it seems like he doesn't even care which one because it could be described as any way. I mean, I mean, what is going on here?
I mean, in other words, you just can't say it's possible. I mean, we could have one of those scenarios as the true system, correct?
No.
Okay, I think we gotta put this guy in the running for Dunning-Kruger champ. So he doesn't think it's possible that the universe is heliocentric or geocentric. Like, not even a possibility. We're not talking about making definitive claims here. He's saying it's not a possibility. Wait, isn't he a heliocentric? Like, wait, what? He's saying it's not possible. Like, not even a remote possibility? This is a heliocentric universe or geocentric. So he wants to bring in other theories? Like, what? I mean, look at this guy's face here. It looks like he's almost mentally checked out because he can't handle being checked by Witsit, and he realizes that he hasn't actually been able to bring any kind of case to the table here. Like, it's like he brought a sponge to a tank fight, and now he doesn't know what to do, so his ego is just digging him a deep... Like, he can't even seed... he can't even seed that a heliocentric or geocentric universe is a possibility. He didn't even say strong, but Sungenis didn't even say strong possibility. He just asked if it was a possibility. Like, maybe a remote possibility? No. I mean, this level of goofery. I mean, this is like record goofery here. I mean, he's fading so fast here. I mean, I don't know what to make of this guy. I mean, it's almost like there's this secret humiliation contest that all these globe earthers are taking part in without telling anybody, and it's just between them, and they go on all these shows and try to throw out the dumbest arguments, and it's like the secret contest of who can appear dumber and humiliate themselves the most, because why else would they be doing this? I mean, what kind of man of science denies even possibilities? Like, I mean, can anybody explain this answer here in the chat? Can anybody explain the answer? Why would a man of an alleged man of science? I mean, isn't it's just kind of weird. It's pretty weird. Would an alleged man of science deny the possibility of either a heliocentric or a geocentric? Like, I was not expecting that. I mean, that's kind of funny. That's kind of funny. I mean, I don't know what to make of this. This is really weird. I mean, this is tough. Like, where do we go from here? I mean, where do we go from here? I mean, look at his face here. He looks so defeated. I mean, he looks like he just wants to take his ball and go home. Witsit says he literally said relativity states either could be possible just before that. Yeah, that's true. He's saying no because in his mind he would be conceding geocentrism could be possible, so he just doublespeaks. Okay, so he's this much, like, his ego's got him on strings this short. He can't concede anything at this point. I mean, wow. I mean, what kind of emotional maturity level is this? It's like a 4-year-old who can't be wrong about any aspect of anything. I mean, this is, this is crazy. I mean, this is really crazy.
Why?
You can't have either scenario because it doesn't have a preferred frame of reference.
So it sounds like this guy is just repeating terms, like regurgitating terms he heard somewhere without actually understanding any of them. There not being a preferred frame of reference means it could be either. It doesn't mean it's neither. I mean, this is like Relativity 101. I mean, this isn't even college level stuff. I mean, I don't even know if... I mean, this is technically middle school stuff. I don't know if I would even call this high school level. I don't even know... Witsit in the chat says, I forgot how bad this was. Yeah, I mean, his face tells the whole story. I mean, he's looking down in shame. I mean, he's just been absolutely annihilated. I mean, we're just getting started here. This is the beginning. This is the beginning here. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, wow. This is going to be tough.
What's it?
Meaning general relativity. General relativity doesn't allow you to have...
Okay,
an
but here's the
absolute frame of
point I was
reference.
trying to make before. Whereas Newton would only allow a heliocentric system, general relativity allows both a geocentric and a heliocentric system. So with the medieval science of Newton, we're never going to get a geocentric system. But with Einstein and Mach, we're going to get it as a possibility. So then it's just a matter of determining which one's the correct one.
No, it doesn't work that way, because to suggest that there is a correct one would be to suggest that there is an absolute reference frame. You just
Well, look, we see this. We see the stars in the sun.
Wow. I mean, just the amount of strawmanning and diversion here. Because Sungenis wasn't even talking about which one's the correct one. He's saying, could either of them be possible? Like, this guy doesn't understand I mean, we're not even talking about relativity being true, but he doesn't even understand what relativity is. I mean, he doesn't understand. I mean, this is Relativity 101, though. This isn't even any of the super advanced concepts of relativity. I mean, this is 101. If there's no preferred reference frame, it could be either or, not neither. I mean, is Ferguson not even on a kindergarten English level of comprehension? Because he keeps repeating what he read about it without understanding it. He doesn't understand frame of reference. Frame of reference states that it could be either, not neither.
Sun go around us every day, right? One of them has to be correct. Either the Earth is moving or the sun is moving around the Earth.
From a general relativistic point of view, you don't have any particular reference frame. You can't make an absolute
You're
statement.
basically arguing solipsism. You're saying there's no objective truth at this point.
That's what I'm talking about. That's why he's the MVP. That's why he's the GOAT. The GOAT.
I mean, this is just kind of crazy because and look at Austin's face here. It's like, what is this guy even doing here? Because if you're, that's true. If you're going to argue there is no truth at all, like, what are you even doing? I mean, I guess if you argued that logically, maybe, but he's using relativity to argue that when the preferred frame of reference doesn't state that it can't be any of the options. It's the opposite of that. It states it could be any of them depending on, since there is no preferred frame of reference, whatever preferred frame of reference you're using, that could be true. It doesn't state that none of the options are true. So he's not even supporting the position of the truth cannot be known. He's not even supporting that position. I mean, wow. I mean, this is really tough. I did not expect this. I mean, Ferguson's going to be like I think he's in the running for Dunning-Kruger championships here. I mean, I was sleeping on him a little bit just from his soy appearance, but I mean, it looks like he came to play. He came to play. Heracles says, you just don't understand, bro. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. How can Ferguson say this with a straight face, though? Like, what do you think? I mean, is he really that triggered? He doesn't appear that triggered. I mean, he just appears very dejected and ashamed, but not super triggered. And what do you think Ferguson thinks, like, when he watched the debate, this, whatever, what's it called? Culture War podcast, whatever. When he watched it back, like, I wonder what he thinks of his own performance here. Because any child who had studied basic relativity understands preferred frame of reference, but he appears to not understand it. Boggin says the only frames he should be using are picture frame. Well, even then, perhaps only with supervision if it's real glass. If there's real glass involved, I think he needs supervision and maybe duct tape the edges. I don't know if we could trust this guy with sharp edges of any kind.
According to general relativity, there is no absolute reference
General
frame.
relativity doesn't make philosophical
no.
claims about objective truth.
But from our perspective, you're saying that the reference point of how we see the stars and everything moving is the sun is the reference point. We are going around it. That's how we perceive the universe.
That is a useful reference frame in a lot of circumstances. There are some reference frames, like if I'm measuring the motion of a satellite, the first reference frame I'm using is actually one that has my telescope at the center of the universe. And if I'm predicting a solar eclipse and predicting the path of a solar eclipse, I actually use the moon as the center of the universe. So I'm using a selenocentric reference frame. But that doesn't mean I believe that the moon literally is the center of the universe.
Of course.
That's also incorrect, actually. When we map out eclipses, we use ECEFs. We do not use we map out the eclipses with an Earth-centered, Earth-fixed system. Satellites use Earth-centered, Earth-fixed system. You have to actually transform it to an ECI.
But
which is Earth-centered,
his
Earth-fixed.
point...
Austin, that's not what I've done, though. That you
This is a really special kind of goof. Like, look how triggered he is. Austin didn't say that he did that himself. Oh, man, the strawmanning is insane. The strawmanning and cope here. And this guy doesn't appear triggered, so he's got a unique personality. Like, he's calmly doing all these mental gymnastics and coping. It's very calm. Austin was just describing the standard way that NASA and space agencies do it. I don't know if every single space agency from every single country does that, but, I mean, you can go on NASA's own website and just look through the way they normally do it, and of course, what nobody brings up, I mean, am I the only one bringing this up? But I brought this up on a few different analyses because a lot of ghosts like Sartain and Bryant Myers, like a lot of these guys, they completely ignore, like they only go with modern predictions, like they only go with post-hoc fallacies in modern times to support their cosmology. So the Mayans predicted eclipses with their flat earth snow globe geocentric cosmology. Again, if you're going with the mainstream view of history, which scientism cultists do, obviously I'm not claiming to know how old the Mayans were or what they did or didn't do, but not only did they predict their own, they accurately predicted solar eclipses hundreds of years into the future. Now, the claim here from this modern newspaper is ancient civilizations calculated eclipse dates without knowing how celestial bodies move. Well, how did they do that? How did they know what the ancients knew? Because the prediction is perfect, which again, this is the Bigfoot mailbox fallacy that Craig of Fight the Flat Earth developed. If you claim that you know the mail will be in the mailbox at a specific time, and if your prediction is that Bigfoot brings the mail, if you check the mailbox and the mail is there at the specific time that you predicted, that must mean Bigfoot brought it, according to Craig of Fight the Flat Earth. This is the Bigfoot mailbox fallacy. So, again, these predictions based on what? So, again, when you don't understand basic logical fallacies, you're going to be stacking them like Ferguson is doing here. Boggin says the Chaldeans and Sumerians did it too. Yes. Most of the ancient civilizations had incredible knowledge, the Egyptians as well, of celestial movement. But what's interesting is that even these mainstream sources, obviously they're leaving out that they had flat Earth cosmologies, but flat Earth geocentric cosmologies for all these predictions and movements. So Ferguson's claiming that's not what he did. It doesn't matter what he did. The fact remains you could do it with a flat Earth cosmology, and the prediction itself doesn't prove whatever claim is being made, because again, we have to go back to the variables, the independent and dependent variables being clearly delineated. And again, you would have to, if you reach, I mean, it's very difficult to do, because in order to do all this, technically, the best way to do it is if you would be outside of the Earth, and really far from both the Earth, the Sun, and the Moon. And you'd have to be viewing what's going on, right? Because from that reference frame, you actually could know the truth, right? Because if you're outside all of it, you can see how those three bodies are moving. The Earth, the Moon, and the Sun. And you can see what they're doing from being outside. Now, can anyone actually get there? I don't know. I'm not making that claim. I'm just saying there is a reference frame where you can see all of the bodies. Instead of being on the Sun, the Moon, or the Earth, if you were outside all of them and just observing all of them, then your reference frame would be, you would be able to tell what was going on there. But I guess Ferguson doesn't have the mental capacity to even comprehend such a relatively basic concept. Just give me a second. I wanted to play this other clip here, which was somewhat amusing. Some people might recognize it. Let me just set it up here, because I know it'll be pretty funny. It'll be pretty funny. Okay, but yeah, let's continue in the interim.
You're talking about maybe something someone else has done. I've personally predicted the path of total solar eclipses, and I've done it using a selenocentric reference frame. I've published this on my channel.
Well, you could use an Earth-centered reference frame too.
And that's what NASA
that's your
actually
point.
does. That's what NASA actually does.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to the same point. It doesn't matter what reference frame you use. You see a reality when you look into the sky that something's going around something.
Do you agree?
You can't have them both going around each other.
Why? You can.
Wait a second. wait a second. The Earth is going around the sun while the sun is going around the Earth? What kind of path? How would that look like? Let's try to imagine that. They're going around each other. But they're not, they wouldn't be going around each other, though. They would just be going around a point in the middle. Like, how could they both, unless they're stopping? I mean, Austin, can you, do you know what he's talking about here? What does go around each other mean? Like, taking turns? Like, what is... Austin, were you able to decipher this claim here? He claims it's possible for the Earth and the sun to move around each other, like simultaneously. So, but they wouldn't really be moving around each other. If they're both moving around something else, then they're both moving around something else. They're not moving around each other. Can anybody explain what Ferguson just said? I mean, what just came out of his mouth? Witsit says, just that from the sun you can treat it like the Earth is going around it or vice versa. He's just refusing to address that there must be an objective reality. No, but he's saying they're both going around each other at the same time. He's saying the same time. Flat Bob says, well, see, Bruce, first the Earth revolves around the sun, then the sun revolves around the... Yeah, if they take turns, yes, that's possible. So if the sun stops, and then the Earth goes around the sun, and then the Earth stops, and the sun goes around the Earth, I guess that's possible. No, he said, why not? Because Sungenis said they can't both go around each other, and Ferguson says, why not? I've actually never heard this argument being made. I actually have to give Ferguson credit here. The level of goofery he's stooping to, I haven't seen this done before. I mean, these would be super fallacy stacks. I mean, this is incredible. I mean, this is stuff that makes you spit your drink out if you happen to be drinking something. So, neither heliocentrism or geocentrism even has a possibility of being true, according to Ferguson. And also, the Earth and the sun can both move around each other at the same time. I mean, I'm not sure what that would look like unless they're taking turns, or unless they're both moving around something else, but then they're not moving around each other, are they? I'm still trying to, I mean, I don't know. Can anybody actually explain that? I mean, how could they move around each other at the same time? Does that make sense to anybody? Can anybody figure out what he means by that? I mean, I want to really give this a fair shake here. I want to really understand what he's saying here. The Earth and the sun can both move around each other. That's tough. That's tough. How is that rectified? Who can rectify that? Is there anybody in the chat who can rectify what he just said without taking... If they take turns, then yes, but then that wouldn't be at the same time. Now, he didn't specifically say at the same time, but I mean, I'm assuming that's the context. Because Sungenis is saying they can't be going around each other. I'm assuming Ferguson wasn't saying they could if they stopped and took turns, unless that's what he's going to follow up with here. But I kind of just want to see if, I mean, this is so weird. Like, this is really weird here. I mean, is he really just that mentally gone that he's just like a 4-year-old sticking his fingers in his ears and just saying, nah, 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 nah. And that's what this is the equivalent of that. I mean, maybe this is what that is, but if he was serious about the Earth and the Sun moving around each other, I mean, how can that be done? Because, I mean, I don't claim anything is true or untrue. Maybe it is possible to do that. I'm just, I'm having trouble picturing how it would work. Is it possible? Is it possible? I don't know. I don't know. Anybody? Bueller? Bueller? Witsit says so that he can avoid making a claim as to which one is actually happening in reality. Best I got. No, that actually makes sense. So it's the sticking the fingers in the ear and saying nah 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 nah. Yeah. Witsit says, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt to assume he is saying that they can move around each other at the same time if you simultaneously consider both Okay, so if you're not living in reality. Because why would you be... Because if we're talking about objective reality, I mean, the reference frame I would want would to be outside of the system so you could see what's really going on. So if you were far enough away from... If it's a heliocentric model, if you were far... if it was... If we're talking planets or globes, and you were far enough away, you'd be able to see what moves around what if you were far enough away. Yeah, I mentioned that, Boggin. If they would be orbiting a fixed point in space, but then they wouldn't be going around each other, they'd be going around another point in space, but... Oh, Heracles says, like linked rings. Linked rings. But then it would still be around another point. Witsit says, exactly, he is specifically refusing to talk about objective reality. Yeah, this is the equivalent of a kid just putting their fingers in their ears and saying, la 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 la. Oh man. All right, let's continue here. Let's see what's going on here.
I mean, general
come
relativity
on.
says you can define whatever reference frame you want, and like I said,
Yeah, but we
depending on the
deal
circumstance,
with the
sometimes it's
reality.
useful to define it as the center of the telescope. Sometimes it's useful to define it as the solar system buried.
Who sees the duper's delight? Like, look at his mouth curling into a smile in between those. He knows exactly what he's doing here. Like, he knows exactly that he's refusing to address it. I mean, this is all painfully obvious here.
Real quick.
Can be either way.
Isn't it in the conventional model that everything is sort of going around each other? That two bodies impose gravitational
Yeah, I
pull
mean,
on each
that's how
other?
Newton got to the heliocentric version. He said that there's a center of mass between the sun and the earth.
Yeah.
But since the sun is bigger, the center of mass is going to be more inside the sun than it would
Right.
ever be to the earth.
And so,
Okay.
but the Earth does pull on the sun. It's just negligible.
Negligible, yeah. So, but the fact is, you can have that system where the earth is going around the sun, okay? Or to explain what we see in the sky, the sun and the stars can be moving around a central earth. And general relativity allows that. His thing is like, well, it doesn't make any difference what general relativity allows. It can't pinpoint what the actual thing is.
Well,
I agree.
but
I agree. The fact is that it allows it. So we can't base our decision on what Newton said, because that's what everybody does today.
But isn't the simplest argument, I suppose, is that when you map out the pattern of planets in a geocentric model, they're kind of erratic? And
No, they're not. That's what they make it look like. In the Tychonic model, they're all going around the sun, same as they're doing in the heliocentric system. The only difference is the sun's going around the Earth at the same time it carries the planets in the Tychonic geocentric system.
Yeah.
So it's a very simple system. As a matter of fact,
So
the one that's complicated is the heliocentric system.
let me try. Are you saying that the sun does move around the Earth and the planets are being pulled on by the sun as well?
That's
creating
right.
That's
right. So it's almost like a mirror image of the Copernican system. except that the sun's going around the Earth.
But so real quick, sorry, I'm trying to understand this. So the sun has pull on the planets.
Yeah.
And do you believe the sun then is not as massive? It's
No,
smaller.
same sun in both systems.
But is it
What
just
we have now is another force involved because the universe is rotating.
Yeah.
And that's going to cause centrifugal, Coriolis, and Euler forces on the solar system. And it's going to make that sun go in complete tow by the forces of the rotating universe around a fixed Earth.
And so just to clarify, you're saying the Earth is then fixed. It cannot be
Yes,
moved.
Right.
Right.
Doesn't-
Like, let's
doesn't
make sure-
rotate.
Well,
doesn't
hold on.
revolve.
I want to ask Robert a question here because I'm curious about this. Let's say that you took a SpaceX Starship and you went to Mars and you had a family and your family grew up on Mars. How would they perceive the universe? Would they perceive the sun going around Mars instead?
They're going to see it from the Mars point of view. And I have no problem with that. The question is that the real system? You can go on Pluto and live if you want, and you're going to see everything revolve around Pluto.
Right.
That's
And
not
so-
the issue here.
So that drives my question then. What is your evidence that it is Earth as opposed to if you grew up on Mars, you would feel like it was Mars?
We've done physical.
I mean, yeah, this guy is so bad faith. I mean, it's just so obvious he's bad faith. Because he's basically strawmanning here. Because the point is, what is the objective truth? He's not talking about what people feel like observing in the sky. Because, I mean, moving the goalpost and strawman logical fallacy stack there, because that's not what Sungenis explicitly stated. We're not talking about what things look like, or what they feel like, or whether you're on Mars or Pluto. He wants to know what the actual true model of the universe is. And this guy, in his pure bad faith, he's just moving the goalpost and not only strawmanning, but also shifting the burden of proof on him over something he's not even claiming, because Sungenis just agreed with him that it would appear that everything's moving around Mars if you're on Mars or Pluto. And he explicitly stated that's not what's being discussed here. So, Nominal in the chat says, this guy's the Brian Stelter of NASA. Oh, man. Oh, man. I mean, but is it possible to be more bad faith than this Ferguson guy? Jones says he's just trying to keep the audience confused. I mean, yeah, but it's so... the bad faith is so obvious now. I mean, it's just... Can you be any more obvious at this point? And you saw the duper's delight earlier. Like, he was creeping his mouth into a smile as he was, intentionally... just intentionally avoiding the explicit points being brought up here.
Test on the Earth.
That's where Austin comes in.
Yeah,
That's where I was going to go next.
Proven it. We have Aries failure, stellar aberration. It doesn't change when you introduce an additional medium. We have Michelson-Morley, and we can get into all these. But interferometry, that was right. Then Michelson go person match the sidereal rotation. I'm not actually trying to scattergun. I want to make sure that the audience is following here. So we have Newton. You have the idea that the sun's really huge. It has the most gravity. The planets move around it, so it's logical that the Earth would also move around.
So Austin, let me ask you a question.
So then Mach came along and said, "Wait up! Newton didn't even think about the rest of the universe." He thought the sun was the center of the entire universe. So when we actually take his theory even and we apply it to a rotating universe, the angular momentum of that whole universe would outweigh any effect of the sun, and the Earth could be in the center. This spills over into relativity as well. Now, I actually reject all of this. I reject the claim sizes. I don't even believe in all that. But it's misinformation. It needs to be pointed out that even in the Newtonian and Einsteinian models, the Earth could be in the center. So what we need to do is go back to Earth, look at the actual test, the empirical evidence. What does the empirical evidence show? Instead of this woo-woo, we can't know the truth, it could be anything.
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's the MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
What does that serve us? We did tests on the Earth that proved that the Earth is not moving.
Let me go back to the very first test.
Can I look that up? Like, what were the studies? What were the tests
Well, let me go back to the first
Aries
one. The
failure.
Aries failure.
Aries, how do you
AIRY. Now, Wikipedia is going to do what
AIRY.
Wikipedia does. Just so you know.
I want to ask Austin this because, okay, so Aries failure. So for people who don't know, and I'm sure Tim's going to pull it up here in a second. But
Flat
it
Earth
involves-
Wiki? Should I do that?
Well, that's the debunk site, but it's good.
that's
It's
the
still
first
good.
thing
It
that
still
comes
can
up.
be good because all of them are going to say what's not true, which is very telling that it has to lie.
So Aries failure, for those who don't know, I'm sure the audience may not be familiar with this, but it involves a telescope filled with water because light travels slower in water. Would you agree?
And again, look at just the level of insecurity. Oh, the audience might not know this because Ferguson is so much smarter. Like, he had to add that in there instead of just explain it. Like, when Austin explains both sides of all of this, he's just explaining it. He's not adding in these digs on the audience because he's that insecure and he needs to feed his ego due to being this insane narcissist. I mean, wow. I mean, it's crazy.
That light travels slower in water. Okay, so you have a water-filled telescope. The principle behind Aries failure, which, I mean, this experiment goes back, before Einstein. At that time, physicists believed in the ether, that light was entrained in this ether, and that it was called the undulating theory of light, that light was traveling through the ether, a medium. They thought it was necessary. So basically, you have a water-filled telescope pointing at a star. Now, you have stellar aberration because light acts a bit like when you're running in the rain. If you accelerate, you have to tilt your umbrella down to catch the rain. And so starlight acts that way. As we go around the sun, the starlight is deflected slightly by Earth's orbital motion, at least in our model, right? And so if you point a telescope at a star, you have to correct for what we call stellar aberration, the deflection of that starlight. Now, if you fill that telescope with water, the thought was if the starlight is entrained in ether, and think of this as a medium that Earth is moving through around the solar system, then if you slow the light down, but if it's trapped in the ether, it's still going to have lateral motion in the telescope consistent with Earth's orbital motion, and that won't be affected by the water.
Okay, that wasn't the absolute worst explanation I've heard about that, but again, I mean, we're talking about a lot of assumptions here and hallucinating to know exactly how many variables are or are not at play. How would he know that? Again, that's why you always have to go back to the scientific method. Because what are the possible unknown variables at play here? And when you modulate variables, what is the effect? What is the control? Because if you're not using any of these terms, I mean, you're pretty much just LARPing as a scientist without actually being scientific. I mean, that's actually what scientism cultists are. They're just scientist LARPers. Because they're not actually doing any real science. They're just pretending to while completely avoiding demonstrating adherence with the scientific method. So that's, I mean... So again, that wasn't the absolute worst explanations I've heard, but again, he completely avoided how any of this adheres to the scientific method. And that's kind of a big issue. And again, this is why it opens the door to these false cause logical fallacies, these false dichotomy logical fallacies, as if the only possibilities are heliocentric with ether, heliocentric without ether, geocentric with or without ether, like as if these are the absolute only possibilities and these are the only variables at play. I mean, that's how brain dead these scientism cultist goofs are. Hallucinating to know that these are the only variables at play and these are the only possibilities.
Okay.
Let me finish. So what happens in reality is you have a photon of light entering the telescope.
Wait, hold on a second. I thought he said it was anything could be possible in reality and it can't be known to be true. Now all of a sudden he knows what's happening in objective reality. And listen to that narcissistic false confidence that he said that with. Like, the emphasis that he put, like the inflection he put on this is what's happening actually in reality, Whereas just moments ago, he was saying it's basically impossible to determine any of this stuff. Now, all of a sudden, he's an expert on actual reality. Oh, man. I mean, this guy, I mean, he has to be in the running for the Dunning-Kruger Championships. I've never seen anybody debate this poorly in this particular fashion and jumping across hypocrisies, I mean, so quickly. I mean, just moments ago, he was talking about how it might not, you can't know what objective reality is, while also saying that certain things are not possible. So even though it's impossible to know objective reality, he knows for sure that neither of the possibilities Sungenis mentioned were even possible, theoretically. I mean, we've never seen a goof like this before. I mean, this guy truly is special. I mean, this guy's starting to give Craig a run for his money.
Slowed down by the water, but the water doesn't have any preferential way of knowing, oh, this vector towards the bottom of the telescope, I'm going to slow it down in this direction, but I'm not going to slow it down laterally.
What? What is he talking about? What? The water's not gonna know in which direction to slow down light? Well, it's either gonna do it or not do it. I mean, what? Now, in what fashion it's doing it and why, those are separate issues. But, I mean, that was kind of weird. I've never seen anybody say something that dumb in relation to Ares' failure, but okay. So he's not done with the explanation yet. I've been quick to give him credit where I should not have.
Doesn't work like that. But it would have, at least in theory, if ether were real, and it
Whoa. I mean, no, we definitely got a guy in the running here. Oh, man. Circular reasoning, false dichotomy, false cause, false premise. I mean, this stack is insane, and Strawman. But, I mean, this stack is insane. So he's saying if ether were true, water would magically know which way to slow down light? Does this guy... I don't even know if this guy understands what he's saying. It's like he's talking just to talk. And sounds like, did he actually think that through? If ether were real, presupposing it's not, if ether were real, water would magically know which direction to slow down light? Like, what is this guy talking about? I mean, this level of giver, I mean, I don't even know if Craig would say something that dumb. I mean, I really don't think so. I mean, Austin, what do you think? Do you think Craig would say something that dumb? I'm not sure he would. If ether were real, water would magically somehow know in which direction to slow down.
were entrained in the ether. The idea was it's still stuck in the ether. It's still going to have this lateral motion caused by Earth's orbital motion. But because ether doesn't actually exist, and that's what the result actually showed, that photon was coming straight down the tube, the same as it did without the water present. So Ares showed no effect on stellar aberration. The amount of stellar aberration in the water-filled telescope was the same. But the whole reason they expected it to be different was because of ether, the idea that it was going to be entrained in ether and move laterally. So, Austin, my question to you is, if you had your water-filled telescope on Mars and you point at a star, will you see stellar aberration consistent with Mars's orbital motion, or will it be affected by water?
If you went to Narnia, what would be your favorite color?
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's the MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
I don't go to Mars, and that.
I mean, Austin shutting down this goof's bad faith, strawmanning. I mean, just diversion fallacy, circular reasoning fallacies, false dichotomy. I mean, this guy is so all over the place with spamming the fallacies. I mean, and he's so bad faith about it, and you can see the duper's delight creeping on his face. Whoops, something's going crazy here. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Ferguson is so bad faith here. I mean, have we ever even seen somebody this bad faith and making arguments this dumb? If ether were real, water would magically know which direction to slow down light. I mean, what is he talking about? I mean, I would have asked if he's familiar with the scientific method, because it appears that he is not. It appears that he just doesn't have a clue on what the scientific method even is. And I don't know if he's just melting. This is his version of melting down, because he is relatively calm. I mean, this guy is not like the typical triggered goof. He's relatively calm about all of this. But you can see the duper's delight. The bad faith is beyond obvious. So, I mean, I don't really, like, it's just, like, what are you going to do with a goof like this? It's just, was it a case of him just being this ill-prepared, being absolutely humiliated and obliterated in the opening, and just within the first few minutes, that this is his spiral cope? He had, like, maybe he didn't intend to go bad faith that early, and it's just he had no other option. Like, his ego's just got him on that short string. He's just dancing for his ego at this point. And he's got absolutely nothing. He's got absolutely nothing. I think it's time we bring back another clip here. This was a classic. This was a classic. Give me a second. I want to bring this one back because it's pretty funny. And I think it might explain the cope here. I think it might explain the cope spiral here and why this guy is being this bad faith and this silly. Because he's just being absolutely obliterated here.
He forgot his case. He forgot to bring it. I don't know. I don't see it. He forgot his case. He forgot to bring it. I don't know. I don't see it. Do you?
Irrelevant, it's a deflection. I'm going to correct. What he just said was the mainstream version. They do this with all truths, by the way. That's why we're going to have a Wikipedia truth box at the bottom of this channel. And they have to misrepresent this test. And it has nothing to do with ether.
Let me pause.
right.
Let me pause
That's
real
right.
quick. So just don't forget what you're going to say. I want to stress one of the challenges is earlier we were mentioning, Google. The argument was Google says men can get pregnant. Well, Google says it's not. But I will stress Wikipedia is full of lies.
Yes.
And so if you look up my wiki, it claims, and this is totally irrelevant to the conversation, but it's relevant to Wikipedia. At some point, they added that I was a proponent of and sought out ivermectin, which is just could not be more false. I argued against it to Joe Rogan on his own show. How they could put in something so false, and all of these editors are like, no, it's true. Tim Pool did this. And I'm like, watch the Rogan episode. I told him, no. I said it doesn't work.
You know what's kind of funny is that Tim Pool could have easily brought up examples that had nothing to do with him. But I guess his narcissism is showing a little bit here, too.
That, whether you agree or disagree on any of the arguments being made on Flat Earth, presents a troubling scenario where the average person cannot figure out what is to be
So,
trusted.
Tim, that's one of my favorite things about astronomy, is anyone can look up. It is the most open science there is.
There's no astronomical observation
Because-
that proves heliocentrism. It all works from a stationary Earth. But I don't want the
Okay,
point to get
Witsit.
lost. I don't want the point to get lost. You just went on a long time, and you just said what we can read in Wikipedia. The problem with it is, if what Wikipedia is showing is a lie, and you can prove it by going and reading the papers and looking at Aries' actual documents, have you done that?
I have, and it
Okay,
says
well,
that it had a profound
wait,
impact on the undulating theory of light.
Wait, that sounds like an analysis of the paper. Like, because you're not necessarily... I mean, maybe we'll have to go through all the original documents, but it sounds like he's regurgitating. And look at the Duper's Delight creep on his on the edges of his mouth again there. And not to mention, that's all diversion fallacy anyway, and red herring, because we're not talking about the effect on theories or whatever. It's the mechanism of the experiment itself, and whether or not the observations, like the interpretation of it after the fact, is not that's a separate issue from the actual data gathered. Same thing, for example, with the Cavendish or whatever, like determinations, conclusions drawn by assuming variables and abandoning the scientific method is not the same as reading the original observations in the source documents. Just like with Cavendish. And this guy knows that. That's why he's so bad faith. Look at the Duper's Delight. Like the creep of his mouth in Duper's Delight. I mean, you could see it all over his soy-infused face.
Okay,
Because
wait.
ether
Let
was
me, let me,
necessary for that lateral motion of the
okay,
photon.
you've said that 4 times. Now,
That's what his paper said.
okay, now I'm going to point out why you're wrong. So you actually claimed, just so for the audience to understand, you have to look at a star with a telescope, and to keep the star in the center of your telescope, you have to tilt it, because it comes in at an angle. So the analogy he used is a good one. It's like rain. If it's raining straight down, but you run through it, even though the rain's falling straight down, it's going to look like it's coming in at an angle. And if you run faster, the angle is going to increase, right? So the idea is the Earth is moving around the sun, making the star look like it's coming in at an angle because of the orbital velocity of the Earth. Now, he claimed at the beginning that's why we have stellar aberration, because of orbital velocity. We had nothing to do with ether. You claimed that it comes at an angle because of orbital velocity. What he pointed out was, well, wait, if water's going to slow down the light, that's going to increase the amount of time it takes for the light to get through the telescope. It would be like speeding up in the rain. So it should actually increase the angle. It did not.
That's what I'm talking about. That's why he's the MVP. That's why he's the GOAT. The GOAT.
I like that Austin's not being quite as nice or letting this guy get off the hook with anything, because he's clearly pointing out this guy's hypocritical claims and inconsistency with literally everything. I mean, this Ferguson goof claimed that, oh, the truth can't be known, this and that. Then he's all of a sudden he's talking about objective reality and what the truth actually is, and ether doesn't exist, etc., etc. Now he's saying, like, the cause claim that he made, now he's moving the goalpost yet again and spamming diversion fallacies to not address the entire point that he brought up Aries' failure for. I mean, and you could kind of tell, this Ferguson goof, I don't think he's ever been checked before. Because when he's in these echo chamber indoctrination facility classrooms, nobody's ever checked him. Nobody's ever checked the regurgitated scientism propaganda not adhering to the scientific method. Austin's probably the first guy he's ever encountered who checked his religion, who checked the core tenets of his religion of scientism. Run Boston Bear saying, Bruce, it was nice seeing the kids' gloves off a bit. This still wasn't full power, not even close. Well, no, not really. But still, like, some of the other debates, Austin was just way too nice. But also, this goof is so bad faith. I mean, he deserves that. I mean, this is almost like, again, he's never been checked before. He doesn't know how to handle it. So he kind of just puts his fingers in his ears and goes la 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 with these diversion fallacies. And just these huge fallacy stacks. And you can see the duper's delight. So you can tell that he's just a bad faith narcissist. So that's what's, and he's even scummier than, like, because Bryant Myers was like a nice guy having a genuine meltdown. Like, Bryant Myers had some narcissistic traits, but I don't actually think Bryant Myers was bad faith. I think he just got so triggered because he had also never been checked before. But I actually think Bryant Myers maybe kind of cares about what the truth actually is. He just couldn't, the mental strength wasn't there to confront a lot of the unscientific, the scientism propaganda pretending to be science when that got checked. He just didn't have the mental strength for it. But the initial desire might have been there. Ferguson's like as bad faith as you could get. So, I mean, this is just, it's just so bad faith here. I mean, this is definitely going to be a multi-part. I'm already exhausted with just this amount of bad faith. And just the level of goofery that Ferguson has sunk to. Like, I don't think Craig would have made some of these claims. Like, water's going to magically know which way. I mean, if ether was real, like, like, what? And then geocentrism and heliocentrism, neither one of them can be true. It's not a possibility that they're true, according to Ferguson here. Flat Bob says, yeah, I've got a headache from all the goofery. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's tough. I'm actually going to... I just can't handle it anymore. I want to make this fair, and I want to address everything point by point. So I think splitting this up would be the most fair thing to do, because I don't want to let Ferguson off the hook with anything. Because, I mean, this goof is so bad faith. We really have to make sure that every single point is gone over here. So this will be a new series, and now that we have... I mean, it might be more than a two-parter. But Justin Johnson in the house here. And Jeff Hunt. Yeah, I mean, we do have it streaming on multiple platforms here, so hopefully, even if YouTube takes it down, we will still have a copy on these other servers, because some of the private servers I was using for redundancies, I think YouTube, I don't know, I think YouTube's doing something weird and, like, corrupting streams and stuff. Wouldn't put it past them, wouldn't put it past them at all. We'll be back to continue this one, pretty soon, trying to make it a little bit more bite-sized so that way, I don't need like a week to recover from goofs like Ferguson. And again, not an ad hom. I'm not claiming Ferguson is wrong. We are just examining the argumentation at play here. So, hope everybody enjoyed another edition of the Mindshock podcast and logically analyzing flat Earth debate, possibly one of the best topics for developing logic and reason, which, as Ferguson is showing here, is quickly going extinct, and even Tim Pool to an extent. So, like and share. You can check us out: Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. Multiple streams going on. The Twitch, I don't know what's going on with Twitch. Kick and Rumble seem to be working pretty well. You can also become a YouTube member right here on YouTube. Help support us that way. And any questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind, leave them in the comment section. This is Bruce McGuire signing off. Catch you guys next time.